Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're good. Today we're going to be chatting about all the murder mystery books on my TBR. So these are not all the murder mystery books I want to read, they are all the murder mystery books that I own physically. If you're a regular on my channel, you will know that murder mystery is probably one of my favourite genres, and so I thought this would be a fun video to do, to talk about all of the murder mystery books I'm really excited for. But when I was collating this list, I found that there are some books that blur the lines. Your typical murder mystery book, you think of like Agatha Christie. I guess more modern versions are like Truly Devious for YA, The Guest List, you know, those kind of books that are straight up murder mystery books. But there are some books that have murder and there's a mystery about what had happened, but it's not typically thought of as a murder mystery, but it has those elements. So what I've done, where's my notebook? Oh, it's here. I've written down I think we have like 20 maybe books, and I would say the first 10 we're going to talk about are straight up murder mysteries, like your classic murder mysteries, and then the other half are kind of maybe thrillers with a murder mystery element, or just books that blur the lines a bit, that maybe I didn't think of as a murder mystery originally, but when I looked into it I was like, well, there is a murder and there is a mystery.
I've connected the two dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
So I'll tell you when we get onto them, but the first lot are going to be like straight up classic murder mystery books. So the first two books I want to talk about are by the same author. The first is The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton, and the second is wrapped up, if you don't know of a series where I've wrapped up some of my books, the second is The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. So I have had this for so long, I have almost read this in so many videos. This is about Evelyn Hardcastle, who dies at this party thrown by her parents, and our protagonist keeps waking up in the body of a different one of the guests every day, and he's trying to figure out what has happened and who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. The Devil in the Dark Water, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know really what the plot is. I think it's like on a boat, like a murder mystery on a boat in the sea. I just bought it because the edition's nice and I like the sprayed edges and it looks pretty.
Well, guess what, people? I get excited about small things.
But these are very, very typical murder mysteries, some of your most typical modern murder mysteries. And I've heard that this is, in particular, is quite confusing. It is a lot to get your head around in the way that the character keeps waking up in different bodies. But I have heard a lot of good things. It's very highly rated, it's very highly acclaimed, so I'm hoping I'll enjoy it. But it is a book that I have almost read so many times, and it's probably one of the books I want to read most. It's just like making myself do it that is the problem. Then we have one I haven't actually even properly hauled yet in a haul video. It is A Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I just read and loved. We're following Pip as she tries to discover if there has been a murder, I think, in this one. I don't know, these are kind of like missing murders, if that makes sense. From what I know, in this one, someone goes missing, and so you're trying to figure out if they've been murdered. Pretty similar to this one. In this one, the murder that's happened, a body has never been found. So because they're YA, I don't think it's like, there's no gruesome murder. So I think in this one, Pip, who is known for like investigating these mysteries, one of her friends goes missing, or someone that she's close to goes missing. One thing that I love about these is that they are multimedia, so they have interviews. Already in this one, you can see like emails, maps, diagrams, all kinds of things, which I think adds such a cool and interesting element to the story. Good Girl's Guide to Murder was one of my favourite YA murder mysteries I've ever read. I think probably my favourite.
Live footage of me reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
Sorry, this is incredible.
So this is definitely going to be one I get to very, very soon, because this could be like a favourite author, favourite series for me. Next we have a classic, and that is The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie. This is one of my favourite books that I own in terms of like the look of it. I think it's so gorgeous and cool. It's definitely going to be one that once I've read it and I go back home, it's going to be like facing outwards on my bookshelf, I think. I am reading all of the Hercule Poirot books in order, so this is the 6th, I believe, and I don't know much about it, to be honest.
The level of unprofessionalism, far too much.
All I know is that it's about a murder on a train. But I really love Hercule Poirot. I think he's a great detective character. He's like...
Him and his little grey cells.
I'm hoping this will be better than the last Agatha Christie I read, which was like a 1.5 star, so I'm hoping this will be better than that. And then we have my other Agatha Christie that I own, which is Midwinter Murder. So this is a series of short stories with kind of like a Christmassy, wintry vibe. And I meant to read this last winter, but I didn't. So I think it's probably going to be one I end up reading this coming winter sometime. I think it's gonna be great for like readathons and that kind of thing. Short stories are always good for that. I think maybe this collation has like some Poirot, maybe some Miss Marple, that kind of thing. So again, a gorgeous edition. I love these kind of like cloth bound Agatha Christie editions. If they had like did these for every single Agatha Christie book, I would buy them. Then next we have a new release, which is The Islanders by S.V. Leonard. This, oh my god, I'm so excited.
So excited.
So this is about a character who I think is ex-police, who goes on this dating show called Love Wrecked, which is basically like the show Love Island, if you've seen that. It's a show where people go to an island to find love, and she gets there, they're all drinking away, they're all having fun, and then someone dies. Someone gets murdered, and a voice announces that it is on the main character to figure out who the murderer is, and that for every hour it takes her, someone else will die. This kind of isolated setting is my favourite thing to read. I love murder mysteries with I think they're called closed circle isolated mysteries, so where you have a bunch of characters trapped in one place, you know the murderer is one of them, and you have to work out who it is. That's what so many of these books are. And the fact that this is inspired by Love Island is just like a whole other layer that I am so excited to read. Next is a very exciting one, and that is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I think this broke loads of records in the UK for like how long it was on the #1 spot. This has been so widely popular in the UK, and it's about 4 older friends who have kind of like retired, and they meet up once a week to investigate unsolved mysteries, but then a murder happens on their doorstep, and so they kind of group together to try and figure out who committed the murder. And yeah, this has been like so widely popular in the UK. I don't think it's quite like translated to overseas success yet, but Richard Osman is a really famous TV presenter here in the UK, and I'm just really excited to get into this. My mum has read this already and she really enjoyed it, so I'm hoping to love it too. I think the fact that our main kind of protagonists are detectives, they're all I think over 80 or almost 80, so I think that's a really unique book, because usually like detectives, particularly like modern detectives, I find like are in their 30s usually. They're usually like an ex-policewoman in her 30s.
You're what? I'm you.
So I'm excited for this kind of unique perspective, because I think fiction doesn't usually focus on characters that are 70, 80, so I'm really excited to read this one. Next we have The Honjin Murders by Sessai Yokomizo. This is translated from Japanese, and I believe this is like a locked room murder mystery, so again it has that isolated element which I love. I believe someone is murdered just before the night of a wedding, and this detective is on the scene to investigate what will become a legendary murder case. I think this detective murder mystery series has like 30 books in it, but I believe only 2 have already been translated into English, so I'm gonna read this and eventually the next one, and then hopefully by then more have been translated, but we'll see. I've heard a lot of good things about this. A lot of you have been in the comments telling me to read this, and I'm gonna enjoy it. So this was one I heard about entirely from you guys. I hadn't heard of it before, and a few of you mentioned it in the comments. I was like, okay, any excuse to read more murder mystery, I'll take it.
We need this. This is essential. This is a crisis.
Then the next book I don't actually have with me. It's back home at the moment, but it is 9 Elms. I can't remember who it's by, but I'll put it up on the screen and you'll be seeing it. This is, I believe, about a detective who solved this serial killer case a couple years ago, or a while back, and they believe that they found out who did it and they imprisoned them, but then a copycat murderer is beginning to strike, and they're trying to discover who it is. This was another one that was recommended to me by one of you and very kindly gifted to me, which I really appreciate. So I'm really excited to get to this one, but it is back home at the moment because I think my mum was reading it when I moved to uni. So I'll be reunited with it when I move back home, but not yet. And now we're gonna transition into the kind of ones that are murder mystery adjacent or are murder mysteries, but I wouldn't have thought of them like that originally. But before we get into that, I actually really want to thank the sponsor for today's video, which is Skillshare. So I am a massive fan of Skillshare. Skillshare is a platform I used myself many times before being sponsored, so it's something I really feel like I can encourage people to use. But if you don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative people. There are so many skills on there for you to learn and try out and discover, from illustration, film and video. There's loads of Adobe courses on there. One class I thought that would be good to recommend to any of you who wanted to start a booktube channel is YouTube Success Script, Shoot and Edit with Marquez Brown Lee. This will teach you how to plan your videos, hook your audiences and grow your channel, and I guess make the experience a lot less daunting for any of you who are thinking of starting out, because I know it's super scary when I was trying to start a booktube channel, like, what do I do? But this course will help break that down for you. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, so there's no ads, and once your free trial ends, it's really affordable at less than $10 per month. So the first thousands of you who click the link down below will be able to access a free trial of Skillshare, and I would really recommend it. Okay, back into the books. What are we going to talk about next? We're going to talk about Groan, which I don't know why, but I never thought of it as a murder mystery, but I think in many ways it is. So this is Groan by Tiffany D. Jackson, and this is about Enchanted. Yeah, Enchanted, who is a singer who wakes up with blood on her hands and zero memory of the previous night. And then a dead body is found of I believe it's the guy who kind of took her under his wing when she was coming into the music industry. But I think, as well as trying to figure out whether Enchanted killed him or not, it's also really a story of manipulation and abuse within the music industry. And so that's why I don't think it's really a murder mystery in the traditional sense. What it's really about is about a young girl trapped in a predator's web and about the many victims that exist in the music industry. So although the premise of this sounds like a murder mystery, I don't think in many ways it necessarily is. I think it's more about tackling those issues. Then one that I never thought of as a murder mystery, but I think it probably is. This is Hunting Prince Dracula by Kerry Maniscalco. This is the second in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. And basically what the first one is about a protagonist, Aubrey Rose?
That is not correct.
Trying to figure out who Jack the Ripper is, and similarly in this one there is a series of murders, and Audrey and her friend Thomas Cresswell are trying to figure out who is behind the murders. So like, I never would have thought of these as murder mystery, but it's literally murders and these two are trying to figure out and piece together who is behind them. So I guess in many ways it is a murder mystery, but again, it's not one I think of like that. The next is one that I see on a lot of murder mystery lists, but I'd never thought of it like that, but I guess it's kind of that like disappearances, is there a murder mystery, that kind of genre. And it is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This is another one that is wrapped up there for that series. I think it's very much a thriller about gentrification, and a lot of these neighbors are going missing and she's trying to figure out what's happening, and perhaps there is something very sinister at play. And I guess there's a suggestion that these neighbors are being murdered in some way and being moved out so white people can move into this area. This is another one that I'm so excited for, and every time I pull one out of up there, I keep hoping that it's When No One Is Watching. Oh, another one I have up there, we'll only talk about quickly, but I have The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and I guess this is murder mystery. I believe this is like short stories, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. It's where a lot of people suggest you start when you're starting to read Sherlock Holmes. I have the cloth-bound edition, which hopefully I've put a picture of in here, and it's definitely been one of the things I've been so excited to read, and then my fear of classics has really taken hold this year, and I don't want to talk about it.
We are going to pretend we didn't hear that.
I just think when you're in a reading slump like I have been, classics are like the last thing you're gonna be picking up, but I'll read it soon.
A lot of deceiving going on. A lot of deceiving.
Then these two are weird ones, right? Okay, let me talk about them together. So we have Murder Trending and Hashtag No Escape by Gretchen McNeil. And these obviously books about murder, but they're kind of more like, I think, dystopian murder. I don't really know if they're murder mysteries, but I kind of think they are. So this one is about this world where murders or executions are live streamed and are a form of entertainment. And this one is about, I believe, escape room murder mystery kind of thing. Like a competition with escape rooms. But they're kind of like dystopian, kind of thrillers, kind of murder mystery. I mean, their whole thing is centered around murder, but there hasn't been like a death and a detective trying to figure it out. So this is why I say it's murder mystery adjacent, because I think it's still something that we should like talk about in this video, but it's like one step removed from the classic murder mystery format. Then we have a couple new releases, the first of which is The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor. This is about a village that has a history of deaths and murders, and the new vicar, I think, moves in and discovers that there is something very sinister going on in this village. So it has that small, quaint village vibes that I think a lot of like classic murder mysteries have, but I don't know to what extent. I think this one's difficult to know to what extent it adheres to classical murder mystery formats until you've read it. Then we have If I Disappear by Eliza Jane Brazier, which I'm actually a bit scared to read now because this hasn't been getting amazing reviews. This is about a woman who loves true crime podcasts, and the host of the true crime podcast that she loves has gone missing. She goes to the area that podcaster lived, and it becomes clear that more women have vanished from that area. Again, it's that kind of like disappearance, has there been a murder mystery, rather than like there's a body murder mystery, you know? And then we have The Night Swim by Megan Golding. This again has that true crime element. There is a true crime podcast, and this woman is in town covering this rape trial that is happening. So there's a lot of courtroom elements, but she is also receiving mysterious letters about what happened to this woman who 25 years ago drowned, but the relative who is contacting the podcaster believes that she was murdered, and no one in town wants the answer. No one in town wants to discuss it. So it's I would say it's like half a murder mystery in this one. This has been one of my most anticipated books to read, and I don't know when I'm actually going to get round to it because of the videos I have planned coming up. This was like my number one book to read for a while, and I don't know when I'm going to get round to it. I'm also intrigued by this author's other book, The Escape Room, which I think is more of like a locked room murder mystery, but I'm going to read this one first and then figure out if I want the other one. And then lastly, I'm really not sure if this could be classed as a murder mystery. I didn't think it could be, but then it's like on these murder mystery lists that I looked at when doing my research to make sure I didn't miss anything. Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. I see this as more of a domestic thriller than a murder mystery. The last line of this is, "It was always going to end in tears, but no one thought it would end in murder." This is about these women who live like in this kind of like affluent middle class US suburbia, and I think like the children are like fighting, and so it causes an argument between these women. So I don't know if this is classed as murder mystery, but let me know if you've read this and whether you would class it as a murder mystery. So there we have it. That is all the murder mystery books on my TBR. Like I said, some more traditional murder mysteries and then some murder mystery adjacent. These are some of the books I'm most excited for. Like I said, it's one of my favorite genres, and I would love to have any recommendations that you would have down below for any murder mysteries you think I would like. One that I hear a lot is The Magpie Murders by, I think it's Anthony Horowitz. Don't worry, that is on my want to read, but I just can't justify buying anything at the moment that isn't new releases, so I won't be buying it for a while, but it is on my want to read. So any others I will put on my want to read as well, so make sure you let me know. If you've gotten to the end of this video, comment the skull emoji, like the skull or skull and crossbones emoji, and yeah, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye!